All right, we will go ahead and get started. As I noted, this webinar is going to be about Mitel Workgroup queue handling and how to set that up in your system. Again, my name is Tom Lyons. I'm a senior support engineer and subject matter expert on the Mitel side for Inflow Communications. I have over 6 years, very close to 7 years of unified communications experience on this platform, as well as RingCentral and Genesys Peer Cloud. A little bit about Inflow Communications before we get started. Inflow does have a sole focus on unified communications and contact center solutions. As a result, because we don't wander into other facets of technology such as networking equipment, anybody that you talk to at Inflow is going to be well-versed in your voice system and will be able to support you. We are a Mitel Platinum partner, as well as RingCentral and Genesys Cloud certified, partners with Mitel, RingCentral, and Genesys Pure Cloud. In particular, we are Platinum partners with Mitel, and we are Gold partners with Genesys Cloud. We have offices and employees in 10 states, and we currently service over 180,000 endpoints and 800 customers nationwide and in many cases worldwide. Our support team is available via email, web portal, and phone, so you can get in touch with us with a variety of ways. And we are maniacal about the customer experience. We want to make sure that you get all the information you would ever need and then some for your voice environment to make sure it's going to work for you as efficiently as possible. A couple webinars coming down the pipe for you as well in the near future that you may be interested in. We do have a webinar on the 17th about hybrid bots, web chat, messaging, and more. If those interest you about potentially adding or learning more about these features for your environment, this might be a good webinar for you. And then on the 19th, we have a webinar about Genesys Cloud and your CRM. So how to integrate those tools into your cloud environment and make sure you're grabbing the data that you're looking to grab from your phone system. Here's a quick snippet of some of the customers that we support. And as always, in the GoToWebinar application, there is a questions box. As we go through the webinar today, if you have any questions that do come up, you can punch those into the questions box there and I will answer them at the end. If there is anything that I cannot directly answer, I will send you an email with that information as soon as I dig it up. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the webinar here. So I'm going to jump into this server here, and we're going to take a quick look at what the Connect group handling looks like and the queue handling in particular. So you can see I'm currently in the Mitel Connect director, and I am currently in Workgroups and have a workgroup highlighted. This is going to be where we will initially set things up. There are a few different pieces that you need to be aware of in order to make queue handling work for your work groups. A quick overview of what queue handling is this is kind of the entry point into a contact center environment. So it gives you some limited contact center features to allow your agents to handle calls a little bit easier, provide branded messaging for your callers, as well as options for your callers so that they aren't just waiting on hold. So it gives you kind of an entry point to that. And so that's what we're going to go over today. There are two pieces to getting this set up. The first part is actually going to be on the routing tab, and then we will move to the queue handling tab after. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the routing tab here to show you what I'm talking about. When I click on the routing tab, you are going to have a whole bunch of different distribution patterns and call forwarding options that are available for each one of your call handling modes, your on hours, your off hours, your holiday, and your custom. They're fairly straightforward for the most part. However, what you're looking for in this particular case is you're looking for the buttons that say queue, which you see here. With a normal workgroup operation, what you'll see is you will see that a call will go either to voicemail or to another group, but there's no actual waiting. There's just the number of rings that you have to answer the call, and then that call gets forwarded onto the destination. This queue option is actually going to allow you to keep those calls still in the workgroup, put them into the workgroup queue, which can be accessed by your agents, and from there you can provide timed steps with the ability to provide new messaging, hold music, which is definitely a bonus compared to just ringing, and the ability to manipulate those calls on the caller side so that they can do things like go to voicemail, which can definitely help their frame of mind and their day, and in turn can help you capture more calls. In order to turn on queue handling in the beginning, you have to make sure that your call forwarding options are actually set to queue. And a couple of notes here. For the queuing, you can set the system to queue for your busy, your no answer, and also your logged out, meaning if there's no agents available in the work group at all that are logged in. As a general rule, one thing to consider is for the busy and no answer destinations, which is really what the queuing is meant for, those are definitely good options if you're looking to use these queuing features. Using it with the logged out option could present problems for your call flow, especially if you have agents that are having trouble logging into the workgroup. Because essentially what can happen is unless you get agents logged in, those callers will just be in the queue in limbo. So that is something to consider. I would recommend using this only with the busy and no answer destinations. So assuming that these are set, this is a system that is in production, so we are not going to make any direct changes here, but in order to make the queue handling work, I would check this queue button, this queue radio button for the busy and the no answer. That will allow me to start queuing calls. But what about actually configuring this so that we can set it up the way that we want? Well, that's going to be in this queue handling tab. So if I click on this queue handling tab here, and let me blow this up to make it a little bit easier. If you're not aware of this in Connect, there's this little expand details box for both the top and bottom panes. If I click on this, it's going to expand the bottom pane to make it a lot easier to see. Looking at the queue handling, you'll notice that there's a number of different options that are available. So I'm going to go through each one of these, and then we're going to go through kind of an example of how queue handling could get set up for this work group. So going through the different settings, the top two options are going to be options that are specific to the queue monitor, which is available for your workgroup agents, workgroup supervisors, and operators within the system, so people with those licenses. The calls and queue warning is going to play a warning indicator, or a warning sound rather, when you reach the certain threshold of calls that you set for people that are currently in queue. So you can see here the default for that is 3 calls. So what would happen is the system will actually play a warning to your users that have the client and have those licensing options when you exceed that 3 call mark. So once you hit 3, it's going to play that beep. The call waiting warning is going to do the same thing, but it's going to base it off how long people are waiting. And you can see here the default time here is 60 seconds. So this would be 60 seconds that a caller has been waiting in queue. It's also going to play an alert for your agents to let them know that you have calls in queue. This is important so that your agents can see what's going on, and if they aren't in a position where they are supposed to be answering calls, it will allow you to use that in your workflow to perhaps make sure that you have additional agents available if needed, or set up your routing in a different way for certain time periods if you have certain trends, such as calls coming in at 11 o'clock in the morning in bursts, for example. The box below it is actually a ability for the agents to choose the call that they want to answer that allow agents to pick up from queue. What this will do is instead of presenting the very next call in queue to the agent, they can actually use the queue monitor to pick up the call that they want. This is just going to depend on what you and your organization needs for your setup. Going through the steps now, this is really the main part of the workgroup queue handling, and this lets you get about as granular as you want, or you can make this very simple. So you can see here there are steps 1 through 5, and you might note right under step 1 there are 2 buttons that say skip this step and announce estimated wait time. Skip this step will allow you to use just a few steps or even just 1 step if you just want to play 1 message or just allow for hold music for a certain amount of time before you forward a call elsewhere. Otherwise, you can use this step by step to create multiple methods here. So you could have somebody wait for 30 seconds, play another greeting, wait for 30 seconds, play a second greeting, and perhaps give them options, which we will talk about below for things like transferring to voicemail. Under that is also the announce estimated wait time. This will be the system's way to estimate based on the number of calls that the group has been getting, the average handle time and answer time of your group members. Will give an estimated wait time for the callers when they enter the queue. Now, this is one that I would take with a grain of salt and even generally recommend not to turn on. The reason for that is because this can get confused for any number of reasons. In particular, maybe you have a couple calls that went way longer than normal just out of the blue for one day, that's going to greatly skew this estimated wait time number. Also, if you have any sort of issue like your agent's not being able to log into the group briefly and you have calls waiting as a result, that's also going to greatly increase the estimated wait time. So we recommend not turning this on specifically because with those higher wait times that are offered to the callers, you may have a higher percentage of callers hanging up, which is not what we want here. So as a result, I would not use the announced estimated wait time in this system. Underneath here, it kind of looks like an auto attendant. And if you're thinking that, that's because it basically is. Queue handling is a way to provide greeting, hold music, and limited auto attendant style options for your callers so that they can manipulate the calls and go to different destinations as needed. So let's talk about that real quick. You'll see here we have this time until next step. This is going to be something that will occur through each one of these steps. It's going to default to 60 seconds. So what this means is it's going to play step one, so whatever prompt you have associated with step one followed by hold music for 60 seconds. Then it's going to move to step two. And then after the step two timer moves, step three, and so on and so forth, assuming you're not skipping these steps. Underneath is your prompt text. It works just like the auto attendant prompt text in the system, that meaning that it is a flavor text only. So you can set up your prompt greeting in here as well. It is a nice, good practice to have just to make sure if you have any issues with your greeting and need to re-record, that information's right there in front of you. So it's nice and easy to take a look at. And then you also have your work greeting under here. Now, a general thing to note, you will want greetings for every step that you use in the system. You import them just like you would for a work group or auto attendant greeting in the system. So you can import a WAV file. You can also record directly to the greeting as well. So if you want to record on the fly, you can have the system call your desk phone, or you can actually set up a headset and in conjunction with Director, you can record the greeting right then and there. Then you have your options 0 through 9, star and pound, just like you would on an auto attendant. And you have several different options you can do here. So just to show as an example, you have the ability to repeat a prompt, go to a menu, just like you could often in auto attendant menu, transfer to extension, take a message, or hang up. So this will allow you to let your callers, as they're navigating through the menus, be able to get to where they want to go or get to a different destination so that they don't have to wait. So a popular way to set this up, for example, would be to, after maybe a couple minutes, offer a greeting that says, "Thank you for your patience, we'll get to you as soon as possible. If you'd like to leave a message, please press 1. And so you could if you wanted to set that up, I could set 1 to take a message, and then I would just need to know the extension that I want to send that to. And when I punch that into the destination here, it'll populate just like it would on an auto attendant or work group. So nice and easy to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of talk about how to set up a really simple call handling for this work group queue that would get you where you want to go. So perhaps in this case, we want to set up three separate greetings where we want to inform the caller that we are working to get to them as quickly as possible. Maybe the second greeting and the third greeting will give them a choice to go to voicemail. And then after those 3 greetings, after a certain amount of time, we want to force them to voicemail anyway. So we can do that in the system here. So what we're going to do, because we've already determined we want 3 steps and not 5, you'll note that skip this step here. We're going to actually skip this step on for step 1. We're also going to skip this step on for step 2. But we're going to turn off skip this step for step 3 and step 4. And you'll note the skip the step is grayed out for step 5. That's because you have to, at a minimum, have 1 step. And because step 5 is the last step, if you only wanted 1 step for your greeting, so just like 1 message and then hold music, then step 5 would be what you would use. So what we'll do is we'll start with step 3. And step 3 isn't going to have any particular options for your callers. We just want to play a greeting, right? So let's say that we want your callers to wait for 90 seconds once they hear the greeting and then proceed to the second step. To give you some more time to answer the call, we'll just change this time to next step until 90 seconds. The second part of this would be as simple as either recording the prompt or importing the prompt using a WAV file in the import button in Director to give you the greeting that you want. And so the desired effect here would be that we would play the greeting once the callers have entered the queue. And then after the greeting has been played, the internal hold music will be used. This will continue for 90 seconds until step 4, at which point we will want to have a setup that will allow them to go to another destination. So in this particular case, on step 4, maybe we want them to have another 90 seconds before they go to step 5. However, in this greeting, we're going to give them the option to press 1 to go to voicemail. All we have to do in this particular case, change that time until next step. We're going to uncheck that announce estimated wait time to make sure that that is not being announced to your callers as well. And then we would import the prompt just as before. The only difference here is going to be that we're going to change number 1 to take a message. Now in this particular case, because we're not making any changes to this work group because it is actually being used currently, we are not going to enter anything in here or hit save. However, the standard way to set this up would be to enter the extension number of the destination you want to send this to. So whether it's a work group or it's going directly to a user, you would enter that extension, and then you could proceed to step 5. In this particular case, I'm just going to leave take a message blank. And then we're going to move to step 5 here. And this has a couple extra things to it that are a little bit different from the other steps. So let's talk about that real quick. We do still have the announce estimated wait time. You'll notice that skip this step, as I noted before, is grayed out. You cannot choose to skip this step. And you still do have a time until next step. So this does still change where the call goes. We'll be talking about that here momentarily. In this particular case, maybe you want to do the same thing. We want to give them that same greeting and let them know we're trying to get to you as quickly as possible. You can press 1 to go to voicemail at this time. And if they don't, they can wait on hold for another 90 seconds. We'll go ahead and change this to take a message, at which point this would go directly to wherever you are sending that message destination if they press the 1 key. Maybe we also want to give them the option to repeat the prompt here so they can hear it again. If you really want to do that, you could use another option here, such as 9, which will allow them to hear the greeting for this particular step. So it's not going to do the whole thing, but it is going to play that particular step that you have set up. Once that is all done, down at the bottom, this is a field that is different from the other steps, this overflow/interflow. And what this is meant for is this is the final destination that happens to the callers if you hit that time until next step at step 5. So it's meant as a way to force your callers to a different destination, assuming they are still on hold. So what you could use this for is, for example, maybe you have these 3 different times and these 3 different steps, and they're 90 seconds each. After those 4.5 minutes, maybe you want to force them to voicemail, or maybe you want to force them to your main auto attendant, or even an operator group so that they can talk to somebody there. All this is an extension field that you punch in that will allow you to send callers to that destination. The end result will be that they will just get transferred there after the timer has expired on step 5. So it doesn't give them a choice, it just forces them there. In addition here, there is a maintain wait time. If you hover over the question mark, you'll see that it'll give you a little bit of info, but it doesn't tell you exactly what you're looking for. Maintain wait time is not applicable when overflow or interflow is set external number or blank, because you can use the overflow to actually transfer out to an external number, like a answering service if you wanted to. That's just because we can't maintain the wait time if the call goes elsewhere. The other piece to this is if you leave this blank, then the callers will just stay in the workgroup queue and they won't transfer anywhere. And so the maintain wait time is not something that really comes into play because they're already maintaining their wait time. They're already still in the workgroup. So where this comes into play for the wait time is if you're going to transfer from a workgroup to another workgroup, perhaps maybe an escalation workgroup with more people available. This will maintain the wait time of the callers. So instead of entering the new workgroup and having waited for 1 second, they'll have waited for the 4.5 minutes, which should punch them in front of the line or close to the front of the line so that they will get answered quicker. So with that, that would actually be a full setup for the workgroup queue handling. So I'm going to go back to the routing tab, where I'm just going to go through the steps real quick again, just to make sure that people do understand, because that is basically the entire webinar here. Just a quick overview of the queue handling. So if I go back to the routing tab here, the pieces to remember: your busy and no answer destinations should be set to queue if you want to use queue handling. That's going to actually allow you to use the queue handling features on the workgroup itself. And then once that's set up in the queue handling, all you have to do is make sure that you've identified the number of steps you want to take, so how many greetings you want to offer to your customers, what options you want to have available to them. So again, you can repeat the prompt, go to an auto attendant menu, transfer to an extension, take a message, or even hang up. So you have all those options available to you. And you can do these on any one of these steps. So you could, for example, offer to take a message on step 2, offer to transfer somewhere else on step 3, offer both on step 4. You can do that. So just identify what you want to do with your queue handling. And then the rest of it is very easily configurable options. So you can just change how long you want to wait for each step, how often you want these calls to warn your agents when they are queuing up, how many calls you want in queue before your agents start getting a warning. And that is pretty much all there is to it for queue handling. So nice and easy. It's a very basic way to handle call center functions in your system without moving to an actual contact center solution. So it's a nice step in the middle there. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look here. It looks like we do have one question. I'm going to go back to my presentation here. We have a work group set up to only leave a message. When the number is called, it does the recorded message, then goes to, please wait while I transfer your call. Is there a way to just play the recorded call and send directly to the VM without other messages? That would be something that you'd want to talk to our support about, because it sounds almost like that work group is either getting forwarded somewhere somehow in that flow, or there's something up with the greeting. So that'd be something that we'd want to take a look at. In the case of just going to voicemail, it should just play the recorded message and then allow for voicemail. So that'll be something that we would want to take a look at. Do we have any other questions? I'll give you guys just a minute here. All right, doesn't look like we have any other questions, and that's okay. If any questions do come up, we can definitely still help you out after the fact. In fact, here is some information on how to connect with Inflow and our current customer resources. As I noted before, you can reach our support department via email, through our portal, or on the phone. Our email is support@inflowcommunications.com. We do answer those in the order they are received, so if you have a critical issue, I do recommend you call. That being said, we do have a pretty quick turnaround on email responses as well, so if you're looking for just standard information or anything that isn't urgent, you can expect to get that information fairly quickly. Our support portal at support.inflowcommunications.com will allow you to see all the tickets that you've opened with Inflow. You can update those tickets from that portal, view their status, and if you're the main contact for your system, we can even set it up so that all of the tickets in your entire organization are visible. If you have not used our portal before, you'll just want to give us a call or send us an email. We have a couple of things we have to do on the back end just to make sure that your user is enabled. And then finally, for phone calls, for anything urgent, or if you just want to speak with somebody live on the phone, you can reach us at 855-946-3569 or 855-9-INFLOW. That will get you directly to our support team. And we do have a 3-ring answer policy, so you're not going to be on the phone for 15 to 20 minutes waiting for a rep. And when you do get in touch with somebody, it's going to be a support engineer that is certified and well-versed in your system. Also, if you want any more information on Inflow support packages, you can send us an email at sales@inflowcommunications.com, or you can also give us a call at 844-446-3569. So again, with that, my name is Tom. Thank you again for joining our webinar on queue handling today. We do hope to see you in the future, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody.